Good morning, everyone.
As you can see, I'm back in beautiful Giza.
Today I'm going to show you the famous necropolis of Apis, who was the most sacred being for the ancient Egyptians right after the pharaoh.
So we set off to Saqqara to visit the famous Serapeum. Gigantic granite sarcophagi stimulate the imagination and inspire alternative researchers to sensational conclusions. Impossible to create and move. Relics of the Atlanteans and lost ancient technology. What do they really look like, and what is the history of this legendary place? Today we'll take a closer look at the wonders of the Serapium. You're about to see rare footage, and perhaps I'll add my own alternative theory. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please do so now. Are you ready? Let's go! In 1850, the Parisian Louvre sent its 29-year-old employee, Auguste Mariette, to Cairo in search of old Coptic manuscripts in local monasteries. The young Egyptologist failed, but he went with a group of Bedouins to Saqqara, difficult to reach at that time. Studying the texts of the 1st century BC Greek geographer Strabo, he anticipated to find the legendary Serapium. As expected, he discovered sphinxes buried in the desert sand. It was a part of a long processional route connecting the Serapeum with the temple of Apis at Mitrahina, near the great sanctuary of Ptah, where the living bull resided and where his oracle operated. On November 12, 1851, Mariette discovered the entrance to the underground. Happy Ang, a living bull and incarnation of the great creator god Ptah, was worshipped by the Memphians already in pre-dynastic times as a powerful deity of fertility, abundance, and reproduction. He was a symbol of royal power, an avatar of Ptah, through whom the great creator god communicated with humanity. After death, Apis was considered Osiris. As the Osirian religion expanded, Apis' popularity grew steadily. Even in Roman times, he was considered a living symbol, the emblem of Egypt. There could only be one Apis. After his death, he reincarnated into a new animal, which was searched all over Egypt by learned Memphite priests. In front of us, one of the largest sarcophagi. The giant made of red granite was dedicated to Apis, who died in the 23rd year of the reign of Amasis II of the 26th Said dynasty, that is 547 BC. However, it doesn't resemble sarcophagi from the late period, but definitely those known to us from the pyramids and mastabas of the Old Kingdom, older by 2,000 years. The lid is missing. It's located at the entrance to the tomb. We'll take a look at it later. 24 stone sarcophagi were found in the galleries. Only 2 are made of hard, compact limestone. The rest of the sarcophagi are made of granite. They're huge. The monolithic boxes are approximately 2 meters high, 2 meters wide, and almost 4 meters long. They were covered with massive lids, 1 meter high, so their total height is over 3 meters, plus some of them weigh over 60 tons. The burial vaults, approximately 7 meters high, were bricked up after the coffins were placed in them, so these impressive sarcophagi were to be hidden forever. A stele was placed onto the newly built wall. It served as an epitaph. The floors of the burial chambers are 2 meters below the gallery level. How did the ancients place 65-ton sarcophagi inside them? According to Mariette, they had to fill these rooms with sand and then gradually remove it. In this way, the sarcophagus was gently placed in position. We can see perhaps the most famous and most enigmatic sarcophagus for Apis, who, as it's believed, died during the reign of the last Ptolemies, Ptolemy XIII, and his co-ruler and sister, the famous Cleopatra VII Philopator, from the 1st century BC. However, there is no certainty, because the engraved cartouches are empty. It's huge and beautiful, and was made of black granite or syenite. Thanks to the highly polished surface, both external and internal, we can better see the craftsmanship and exceptional precision of Egyptian stonemasons of the Iron Age. But is it really? Isn't it older? Some circumstantial evidence may point to this. The sarcophagus is clearly damaged in many places, as if it got broken during transport or as a result of vandalism, and as you can see, the polishing was performed already on the damaged surface. Hieroglyphs and decorations in the form of a traditional ancient motif of the royal palace facade were applied on the polished walls of the coffin. However, they are quite careless, as if made in a hurry, scratched rather than carved. Everything points to the sarcophagus being reused, which isn't surprising. This was a common practice among ancient Egyptians regardless of the period. The tall monumental lid indicates the late period. Such monumental heavy sarcophagi were found not only in the Serapeum. The latest discovery, made this year, is the finding in Bana in the Nile Delta of a similar sarcophagus weighing 62 tons from the times of King Psamtik I, the 26th dynasty, from the 7th century BC. Is it possible that some of these sarcophagi were older, much older? The ancient cult of Apis also flourished during the Old Kingdom in the Pyramid Age, but no burials of sacred bull from that time have been found to this day. Why were the Apis tombs from the times of Amenhotep III, Tutankhamun and Seti I, older than the Serapium, also built in this remote corner of the royal necropolis? Could their location have been influenced by the earlier burials of Apis? Perhaps the open and destroyed sarcophagi of the Old Kingdom were found and restored by the rulers of the late period and the Ptolemies. Of course, I'm not trying to put forward a thesis for which there is no archaeological evidence, but admit that it's quite an intriguing thought. Every time I'm at the Serapeum, I just can't resist. I have to jump inside. The walls of the sarcophagus are about 40 centimeters thick. There's a lot of space. I can almost stand up straight here. The underground galleries, the so-called greater vaults in which we're now, were created in the 7th century BC during the 26th dynasty. Their current appearance is the result of Persian and Ptolemaic expansion. However, the older part of the complex, called the Lesser Vaults, dates back to the times of Ramesses the Great. That's to the 13th century BC. It's commonly believed that Ramses' son, Hamwaset, the Sam priest of Ptah from Memphis, was their creator. Hamwaset led at least 2 funerals of sacred bulls, after which he was to design an underground gallery, a place for collective burial of future generations of Apises. Previously, at least since the time of Amenhotep III, 18th dynasty, sacred bulls were buried in isolated underground tombs with chapel superstructures. The new concept of Hemoset was associated with the promotion of collective memory, symbolized the familial ties connecting the pharaohs, and the continuity of royal power, which was protected also by Apis. Hemoset died as high priest of Memphis during the reign of his brother Merenptah, and was buried among the sacred bulls here in the Serapeum. Mariette found Hemoset's mummy along with the treasure hidden in the sarcophagus. He wrote, "A golden mask covered the face. A column of green feldspar, a loop of red jasper were suspended from a gold chain passed around the neck. Another chain of gold supported 2 other jasper amulets, all in the name of Prince Ha-Emwas, son of Ramesses. An admirable jewel, a golden hawk with partitioned mosaics, the wings extended, was posed on the chest." Also in the older lesser vaults, Mariette found an intact burial of a bull from the time of Ramesses the Great, in a wooden coffin. The stone ones were placed here only in the late period. This smallest of the sarcophagi is different from the rest. It's more like those from the New Kingdom. For Mariette, it was a mystery, because at that time the ruler named Kabash wasn't yet known. Kabash, at the end of the Persian occupation of Egypt in the 4th century BC, was supposed to be the leader of the anti-Persian uprising, and used the pharaonic title shortly before Alexander the Great arrived in Egypt. These strange-looking grooves in the surface of the sarcophagus are a testimony to the piety of the Egyptians, for whom the precious dust from sacred stones, probably obtained with the help of priests, was a remedy for all ailments of soul and body. A very common practice since at least the late period. In temples throughout Egypt, we see grooves resulting from repeated scratching of their walls and columns. However, the highest value had the dust scraped from the sarcophagus of the divine Apis Osiris itself, and this is the result.
According to Mariette, the powder made from the sarcophagi, especially from the sarcophagi of Apis, was mixed with water to prevent infertility.
These superstitions were still alive among local Egyptians in the mid-19th century. When Mariette extracted a large limestone statue of a bull from the ruins of one of the chapels, he noted, "About 15 women of all ages from the neighboring villages were ranged around the statue of Apis. I saw one ride on the back of the bull and stick to it for a few moments, as if on horseback, after which she went down to make room for another. The whole assembly passed there successively. I learned that this custom, repeated from time to time, is intended to prevent infertility." Despite the passage of thousands of years, Apis still functioned in the Egyptians' consciousness as a powerful deity of fertility. More details you can find in my podcast about the cult of Apis. Link in the description. Mariette must have been very disappointed to see all the sarcophagi already open. All but one. I'm inside what he thought was the only sealed sarcophagus. When the lid turned out to be too heavy, gunpowder was used. But the sarcophagus was empty. In front of us, a large sarcophagus made of grey granite. It got stuck during transport and remained here, blocking the original entrance to the greater vaults gallery. Apis was buried here around 525 BC, that's under the Persian ruler Cambyses II, who initiated the Persian rule over Egypt, called the 27th dynasty or the first Egyptian satrapy. According to the black legend of Cambyses, repeated by Herodotus, the ruler, humiliated by the defeat in southern Egypt and Nubia, after returning to Memphis, committed a bestial act, released his frustration by stabbing the divine Apis to death, then still a calf, in front of all the courtiers. Most researchers agree that this is just anti-Persian propaganda. In fact, Cambyses buried an old bull, already 19 years old, with honors, and commissioned this sarcophagus for him. Its difficult location forced the next ruler, Darius I, to cut a new entrance to the gallery. Darius significantly enlarged the Serapeum in an attempt to appease the Memphite elite and thus legitimize Persian rule over Egypt. This lid probably belongs to the aforementioned sarcophagus commissioned by Cambyses. Near the entrance to the complex we see hundreds of niches that once held stelae, left by the benefactors of the sanctuary, faithful worshippers of a living bull. These stelae are epitaphs. They mention the bull's date of birth, the date of his enthronement in the temple of Ptah in Memphis, and the date of his death and burial. They also provide the total lifespan of Apis in years, months, and even days, so they are a priceless historical source. Both the expensive stelae, richly decorated with reliefs, and the small, modest tablets buried by pilgrims in front of the entrance to the temple. Over 7,000 of them have been found here. Unfortunately, none remained in the Serapeum. Today they are in museums all over the world, many of them in the Parisian Louvre. The funeral of Apis was one of the most important events for the Egyptians. Participation in it was considered a religious obligation, just like pilgrimages to Mecca or Jerusalem today. And finally, the impressive red granite lid from the largest sarcophagus of the Serapium, which I showed you at the beginning, the sarcophagus of Amasis II. Okay. Doesn't it look to you like it was made in the Old Kingdom? The text on the lid reads, "He dedicated his monument to the living Apis, a great sarcophagus of granite. Now, His Majesty found that it hadn't been made in a costly stone by any king at any time, that he might be one who is given life forever." Although there's almost no trace of the above-ground part of the Serapeum, the mortuary temple of Apis was once enclosed by high walls, decorated with a monumental pylon and surrounded by small temples and chapels. It's hard to believe today, but this place was teeming with life. Adjacent to the Serapeum was a settlement of craftsmen, embalmers, and priests. The sanctuary was visited by pilgrims from all over the country. Outside we see even more niches. Special chapels were built here so that the stelae were properly displayed. As you can see from the Serapium, we have a wonderful view of the pyramids of Abu Sir. The last Apis was buried in the Serapium in the times of Augustus, who, while in Memphis, refused to visit the sacred bull, saying, "I'm used to worship gods, not cattle." Strabo, who was present in Saqqara at that time, describes the mortuary temple of Apis already in decline and disappearing in the desert sands. The presence of Apis, Ptah, Osiris in Memphis was no longer obvious. We know about 6 divine calves found during Roman times, but they were probably buried in the new Serapeum of Alexandria. The last of them, after 150 years of absence in a rapidly Christianizing Egypt, was found in 362 AD, in the times of Julian the Apostate. With the death of the emperor, information about the bull ceased. Over time, the Serapeum was destroyed, swallowed by the desert, and forgotten. The Serapeum mummies were looted and destroyed by the local hermit monks, who successfully carried out exorcisms of Saqqara. Thank you for watching. If you enjoy our historical adventures and want to help me continue this, please join my Patreon community, link below the video. Please like, comment and share my video with your friends. I'd like to thank all the supporters of my channel, especially my dear patrons. Thanks to you, I can create new content. If you're new here, I recommend you to watch my videos from other ancient sites, as well as my podcast about ancient Egyptian beliefs and history. Last but not least, don't forget to subscribe to my channel to be up to date with new episodes. And see you on another ancient site.